Hey guys, this is Mr. V over here doing a book review today for A Fever in the Heartland, the Ku Klux Klan's plot to take over America, and the women who stopped them. This is a book by Timothy Egan. This is a nonfiction book about one of America's biggest hate groups ever, the KKK, and basically how they came to power in the 1920s and how they all fell apart. This is also, you could say, it goes pretty in depth about the leader, D.C. Stevenson, who he was a leader for like over 5 years at the height of the KKK. So there's a big portion devoted to him as well in this book. Before you consider this book, I would say be over the age of 18. But also, even if you're over the age of 18, make sure you can handle a rough subject, because this is a book that has a lot of racism in it, which is obvious when it covers that subject. But also, it goes in depth about the beatings, the intimidation they used, rape, murder, and just how crazy they were. So you just want to make sure that you can handle a really rough subject, because, as it says in the subtitle, the book is about the KKK in the 1920s, and they are a major, major hate group. People often forget, including myself, how many people they targeted, because they targeted the black community, but they also targeted the Jewish community, the Catholic community, all immigrants, people who are handicapped. They targeted all of them, and they were just lashed out against all those people. They were basically like the Nazis, but the Nazis were in Germany 10 years later. This was in the 1920s in America. So you can see they're very similar to the Nazis in some of the things they did. And you see it in the book, is they were not only like this hate group that caused a lot of scare, but they had a lot of power and support. They were beyond just a few hooded people burning things down. We always picture that, when we see it, but they were way beyond that with the amount of power they got, because they had government officials, they had governors that helped get elected, they had the police that supported them, they had judges who supported them, newspaper writers, even preachers who supported the KKK in the 1920s. So you can see they had a lot of power and influence. The book had told you that there was anywhere from 3 to 6 million members between 1922 to 1924. It's just crazy when you think of it and when you're reading it. It's just pretty crazy. And the author does a great job of writing it. Like, he gives you a really good introduction and gives you a brief history of the KKK. Like, it shows the first Klan after the Civil War, but how they were actually stopped by 1872. They were stopped, and that was a big surprise. I thought they were pretty big throughout the whole time, but no, they were stopped after the Civil War, after 1872, sorry. But then they started back up again in 1915. But they got their biggest power in the 1920s. It's like you always hear of the Roaring '20s about being great and all that, but there was still a very dark side to the '20s, and that was this hate group, the Ku Klux Klan. But it shows also, the book not only talks about the KKK, but it shows what life was like living in segregation. We often forget that. We hear about little stories, but we often forget really what it was like living in segregation. And he does a great job of explaining it in the book. But he also shows how the Klan grew so fast. Because, as I said, they started again in 1915, but they were like humongous by the time it got to the early 20s. They already had like 3 to 6 million members, and it's just astronomical growth, and like how they did it, how they grew so fast. Something that's very surprising is they have their multiple divisions in there. They have the men that are supporting it. They also have a specific different women's division. They even had a children's division, which they called, I think, the Ku Klux Kitties. I think that's what they called them. Like, it's just scary when reading it, and it's sad when you see that they even had a children's division for that. It's sad when you read it. But he also shows just the havoc that the Klan wreaked, like, and just what they did. How they did a ton of burnings, they did a ton of beatings, they did lynchings. There was a lot of intimidation that they used, and the book just goes through all of that, and like how they organized everything, and how they recruited members, like how they were able to grow so fast, but how they recruited members, and how most of the stuff they used to recruit members was on lies. How they just used it to rile up the Klan, but a lot of it was just lies. He also not only covers the Klan, but he also does a very in-depth thing about covering the head Klansman, D.C. Stevenson. Like, a big portion of the book, I mean, it's going through the whole Klan, but D.C. Stevenson played a big part. He was the head of the Klan for over 5 years, but at their height, he was the head of it. And it just shows the what happened, like, after he took over and how he spent so much money after he took over, and he just had parties. They had tons of liquor at the parties. This was also during Prohibition, so liquor was illegal at the time, but he was able to get liquor, and he just lived this lavish life. He had mansions and yachts and luxury cars, and this guy felt that he was above the law. He even said that many times to these people he was intimidating, that he is above, or I think he said, "I am the law." So it's like he did all these things, and sadly, he also raped many women too. He not only caused hate, but he personally did a lot of things like that. And at the time, most of these women were just too afraid to speak up against him. He was too powerful. Women still were not seen that highly yet in the 1920s. So that's why people didn't even fully believe him for the few that did speak up. But one of them, one of them ended up dying, and then a few more came forward, and that's when there was a much bigger trial. And the book covers the trial as well, and they do a great job of covering the trial because it goes in depth and it's very engaging when you're reading it. You see how some of these trials are, because you hear about these trials on TV about what's going on with some of these like celebrities or anything like that, but you see how the trial goes through, like behind the scenes stuff, how the lawyers each work, how the lawyer works, and how the prosecutor works, and what they do, and why they decide to do certain things during the trial. So he goes in depth about the trial, and that was a very engaging thing. And overall, I think that the author, he just had a great writing style throughout the whole book. It was just a very great writing style. It was very easy to understand. Like, he never uses complex writing or complex words, so that always helps, and to like understand the subject. But again, if you're considering, I'm just going to give you a warning. This is a very tough subject, so make sure you can handle it. But if you can handle it, it is definitely an interesting history, because you're going to see how this hate group came to power, and how sad it was. But then how they were taken down by some of these women. And you just get to see it, and that's why if you can handle it, it is definitely a very interesting read. If you guys enjoyed the book review today, hit the subscribe button, because I always upload multiple different types of book reviews. But if you guys have any comments, any questions, post it in the comment section below, because I love to hear your comments as well. Well, thank you for watching my book review today. This is Mr. V. Go enjoy reading.